Hey guys,
Welcome
what's
to the
up?
WWE
Welcome back to yet
Podcast,
another edition
the most
of
passionate
WWE
and authentic wrestling
Rivalries.
analysis
It's
on
Friday,
the web.
November
We've got you
13th
covered with
as
every
Man
Raw,
match. Not too far
SmackDown,
away
and
from the
NXT
holidays
show,
as,
giving you a
this year
no
just
bullshit
continues to
opinion.
fly
We
by
know
as
you
we
love
are all
wrestling.
in
We do
rolling
too. So let's get this
lockdowns
show
and
underway.
But
And
we
that's
are
the bottom
trying to
line.
get there as
What?
fast as possible and hopefully get to the other side of this tunnel sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, it's time to escape this reality that has been oh so depressing in large part and dive into some wrestling talk. And this week, we will be reviewing a rivalry that happened quite recently as opposed to the ones I usually do. And that is The Rock versus CM Punk in early 2013. And well, actually, it started in mid-2012, and that is a rivalry that I feel like gets glossed over quite a bit when talking WWE. I don't know if the WWE has even referenced it whatsoever in recent years. Maybe it's in large part due to CM Punk's so shady reputation with the company, or when we talk about The Rock's return in 2012 and 2013, it's often centered around his big rivalry with John Cena, and rightfully so. But the one he had with CM Punk in late 2012, early 2013 was, in my mind, actually more entertaining and better matches rather than his one with John Cena. So I'm really excited to get into that. But before we do, as I usually do, I like to touch on the current product a bit. And I'm going to start pretty much with the 5-on-5 Survivor Series match that is now pretty much complete. We are missing one guy on Team SmackDown. But I want to focus on Team Raw a bit because we have AJ Styles, Keith Lee, Sheamus, Braun Strowman, and now Matt Riddle, or Riddle, as WWE likes to call him now, who will be representing Raw in the 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. And look, I have an issue with this, and not for a lot of the reasons or popular reasons as many do, as opposed to, them fighting over team captain, or all of a sudden they have brand loyalty, or just kind of the same old rinse repeat, I guess, storyline of these guys trying to fight amongst each other but come together for a common cause in the name of brand supremacy. But here is my biggest problem with Team Raw right now, and I guess this whole concept as a whole. 80% of Team Raw were on SmackDown less than 2 months ago. A month and a half ago, if you want to be pretty exact. And I don't know how we're supposed to take them seriously as Team Monday Night Raw when 4 out of the 5 guys, all of them except for Keith Lee, and even Keith Lee, who only came up to the main roster in, I want to say, August. So he's been around for 3 months on Monday Night Raw. And the other 4 guys were on SmackDown up until the beginning of October. So how am I supposed to take it seriously that these guys are fighting in the name of Monday Night Raw? I really don't get it. And I'm not as harsh on this whole angle, this whole Raw versus SmackDown angle, as, let's say, someone like Matt, who, while all his points are well taken, I do enjoy the brand versus brand thing. But at the same time, it needs to have logical storytelling. And unfortunately, since WWE has gone to this whole calendar year, the calendar flips to November, and now all of a sudden brand versus brand supremacy matters, we've lost the art of very good storytelling. And that's a lost art in a lot of ways in WWE. But it's crucial when you're pitting brand versus brand against one another, because you have to sell to the audience why these guys care about their brand, especially when 4 of the 5 guys were on SmackDown less than 8 weeks ago. And it could be something as simple as these guys saying, well, Fox passed over us in the draft, so we want to stick it to them and show them why. Or, those guys on SmackDown are now going to realize that we're not there to protect them anymore, and they're going to realize what they lost on that roster. Like, just something as simple as that. I'm not expecting someone to rewrite a Harry Potter novel, to explain these things, but I just can't get behind guys who are representing a brand who were on the other brand less than 2 months ago. It just doesn't make sense. And for a guy like, let's say, Sheamus or AJ Styles, like, those guys were pretty much the faces of SmackDown for quite a while. I know AJ Styles was on Raw for about a year from early 2019 to pretty much right after WrestleMania time. But his name was literally the face that runs the place over on SmackDown. SmackDown Live, the house that AJ Styles built. Like, these are things that we can't easily forget, and we just are being trained to be like, okay, well, he was on SmackDown for the better part of 4 years, but now he's a diehard Raw guy. And even a guy like Braun Strowman, like, he was the world champion over on SmackDown for about 6 months. And now he gets flipped over to Raw, and he's fighting in the name of the Raw brand. And I guess that it isn't as big of a deal for most people, but for me, I just like good storytelling. I don't care if it's Raw versus SmackDown. I think they're going to the well a bit too much here, and they're making Survivor Series too centered around Raw versus SmackDown, and it should be saved for, let's say, once every 3 years or something. But if it's a good storytelling, I could get behind it. But now with this, I'm really losing interest. And then, speaking of which, another Survivor Series match. We have the U.S. champion versus the Intercontinental champion. And I have to say, Bobby Lashley is really doing well right now, and the Hurt Business as a whole. And I'm really happy that Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander are getting in the tag team picture, because I had voiced I guess you could say my what's the word I'm looking for? My excitement for such an idea to potentially take place. But now you're trying to build the mid-card champions against each other, and what was a good booking decision, I felt, was Bobby Lashley defending his U.S. championship on Monday Night Raw, making him relevant. And for the most part, I think he has been strongly relevant in the Monday Night Raw booking scene for the better part of 4 months, ever since he got booked alongside MVP. But where has Sami Zayn been? I don't know if I've seen Sami Zayn in a match, in a wrestling ring, anything other than a backstage promo since he won the Intercontinental Championship from Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles in the Triple Threat match. And I don't understand why you make it such a big deal when he returns. And for the record, I love Sami Zayn, and I'm happy he got the IC Championship back. And I think they did a good thing to launch him right back into the IC title scene upon his return. But what's the point of putting the strap back on him if he's just going to be irrelevant on SmackDown? And that's what we've seen, is that the Intercontinental Championship has been in large part a non-factor on SmackDown. And that's saying something, because the Intercontinental Championship is pretty much the second most prestigious championship in WWE right now. I know that Universal Championship is booked to be on equal footing as the WWE title, but in reality, it's only been around for a little over 4 years. And on a side note, I never understood why they didn't just bring back the World Heavyweight Championship, but I digress. The Intercontinental Championship, now on Sami Zayn, rightfully on Sami Zayn, has been an absolute non-factor on SmackDown, and now we're supposed to be excited for him to go in a champion versus champion match at Survivor Series against a guy in Bobby Lashley who has been booked incredibly strong in recent months as the U.S. champion over on Raw. I don't get it. I don't like it. It's making Sami Zayn look weak. I don't even think he was on SmackDown last week. And Bobby Lashley even referred to that in his promo he cut on Raw. And it's just little things like this of, like, we're supposed to make it or treat it as a big deal that the IC champ and the US champ are going against each other, but the former is nowhere to be found. And even when he is found, he's just cutting a meaningless promo backstage. He hasn't been involved in a big booking, in a big program in recent weeks. And I don't understand why they're wasting away Sami Zayn yet again. You know, even feuding with a guy like Big E right now. You know, they made this big deal that Big E was supposed to get this singles push, and he very well may still, but why not put him in a program against Sami Zayn? Why not maybe put the belt on Big E? I would way rather see an IC champ Big E, a former Intercontinental champion in Big E. I know a lot of people forgot that he was a former Intercontinental champion. against Bobby Lashley, especially if they're just going to make Sami Zayn be largely irrelevant, and he's only wrestled, I think, in 2 matches since his return. I'm just very disappointed with the way that they've booked Sami Zayn upon his return and regaining the Intercontinental Championship. And then in the other champion versus champion match between Roman Reigns and Randy Orton, it's much been forgotten. And that's another thing where I need some storytelling to be excited for the match. Like, don't get me wrong, Orton versus Roman Reigns is going to be a hell of a match. And if my memory serves me correctly, they had a brief feud in the summer of 2014, and their matches were A1. But again, I don't think Roman Reigns has even acknowledged the fact that he's fighting Randy Orton once. Like, he's just been completely preoccupied with the Usos and, the tribal chief whole gimmick and against the Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan, which I'm excited for, and I love that storyline that they're doing right now. But they have to make some reference to the fact that he's fighting the WWE champion in less than 2 weeks. Like, I just need something from WWE to at least try and act like they care about the storytelling here. Like, yes, for sure, I'm excited for a lot of these matchups, but I can't really get excited when there's little to no storytelling as to why we should care about this. At the end of the day, these are all pretty much exhibition matches. So if they are exhibition matches, we have to care about the story that's getting them here. You have to kind of book these guys in a way that makes the fans feel something for these matches beyond like, oh yeah, it's going to be a good in-ring match and we get to see both world titles in the same ring at the same time. But even at that, like, who really cares? And, I love the whole Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton program. And like I've said numerous times, I'd like to see Drew get the title back before WrestleMania season. I want to see him go into WrestleMania as champion. But for the time being, make him take a back seat. Like, they've hinted at him maybe being in a program versus Sheamus. I would love to see that. I think they have styles that would clash very, very well in the ring. But, you just make him go into a program with Sheamus for the time being. Let Randy Orton focus on Roman Reigns. Let him focus on The Fiend if you want to have that wrinkle in the program to, set up for maybe a match at TLC or something. But just make Randy Orton focus on the match that is upcoming. Like, I know that they're on separate brands, but at the same time, you have to make people feel something for this brand versus brand. And look, I've already recapped the program of Raw versus SmackDown in 2005, but think back to more recent history. In 2016, when they first did this whole concept at Survivor Series. And back then, the brand extension was fresh. They had just redone it after, I would want to say, like 5 or 6 years of them all being on the same program. But in 2016, when Stephanie McMahon had Raw that was GM'd by Mick Foley and Shane McMahon had SmackDown where the GM was Daniel Bryan, they had this type of match right off the bat, but we cared about it. Why? Because it was fresh off of Shane McMahon's return. He had made it quite known for his disdain towards his sister, Stephanie McMahon. He kept saying that he wanted SmackDown to be the land of opportunity. He wanted it to be better and more well-respected by the performers and the wrestlers. So that was the whole point. It was about Stephanie versus Shane, the inner McMahon battle. And whether or not you care about, the McMahon's feud and the ongoing thing of, Vince putting himself and his family on television, I've always personally liked it, but I understand if you get tired of it. But you still at least have to respect that WWE put a story in place as to why we cared about Raw versus SmackDown. And to date, I think that's the best version of Raw versus SmackDown that we've seen, aside from the 2005 rivalry 15 years ago. But since they restarted doing this whole, brand versus brand thing at Survivor Series, I think the original one in 2016 was the best. For 2 reasons. A, it was the first of its kind and it was original and we had never seen it before. And B, we cared about the story because SmackDown versus Raw was McMahon versus man, brother versus sister. It was about which brand would be better in the new era of the brand extension. And now, just because the calendar turns to November, we see it all over again. And in doing so, even though it's forced, they don't even put the time to build the stories and make us care about these matches. And, that's all I got to say about that. And it's kind of frustrating because, like I've said before, I do really care about Raw versus SmackDown. But when they come at you with no storytelling, it just kind of makes it all for nothing. But enough of all that, and let's get into the reason why you guys are here, to get into some positive wrestling talk, and that is The Rock versus CM Punk. That was from the summer of 2012 into the beginning of 2013. And to take you back to, I would say the whole story to this really started in March, or actually February of 2011. And not a story between the two, but it really got kicked off when The Rock returned to WWE for the first time in 7 years. And we all remember the massive pop as him being revealed as the host to WrestleMania 27. He came out, cut that amazing promo on John Cena, sprinkled in some insults for The Miz. And he really kicked off, I would say, a 2-year run where he was pretty much a full-time part-timer, if that makes sense. He pretty much had the Brock Lesnar schedule for 2 solid years. And for a guy like The Rock, who now we're lucky if we see him once a year or once every 2 years, it was a big deal to see The Rock. I think it almost averaged out to once a month, as he really came back quite often. And obviously in 2011, he cost John Cena the championship at WrestleMania. Then he returned at Survivor Series to tag with John Cena against The Miz and R-Truth, his first match back in a wrestling ring since WrestleMania 20. And during this time of him initially returning and all that, another uprising, I guess you could say, was happening in WWE, and that was CM Punk. And summer of 2011 is often referred to as the summer of Punk. He had the pipe bomb. He got quote-unquote fired and walked away with the WWE Championship, then won the undisputed WWE Championship away from John Cena at SummerSlam 2011, and thus kicked off his year-and-a-half-long reign. I forget the exact number of days he had it, over 400 for sure, as WWE Champion, and pretty much the most historic run as WWE Champion, or any World Champion, as we have the World Heavyweight Champion and WCW Champion and Universal Champion of the modern generation, and something that we never ever see anymore in WWE. I think the only reign that rivaled something like that was Brock Lesnar holding the Universal Championship from March of 2017 until August of 2018. And even at that, as we know, Brock Lesnar was always on a part-time schedule. CM Punk was there every single week, and in real life world was one of the reasons why he walked away from the company in January of 2014. So while The Rock returned and was obviously headlining WWE and probably the biggest attraction WWE had at the time, almost by default after him being away for 7 years, you had CM Punk on this meteoric rise, and I think it's easy to say that he surpassed John Cena, he surpassed Randy Orton, Batista was gone by that time, Sheamus was, winning the Royal Rumble, but he certainly surpassed him. Triple H had transitioned into more of a corporate role, so CM Punk was pretty much dominating the landscape of WWE. But even though he was dominating the WWE landscape, WrestleMania 28 rolled around, and he was almost an afterthought. And he had a Chicago street fight versus Chris Jericho defending his WWE Championship. A really good match, one of which he won and retained the title. But again, he was overshadowed. He was playing second fiddle to The Rock versus John Cena that headlined WrestleMania 28 in Miami, Florida. And if you want to actually break it down even farther than that, he played third fiddle, because WrestleMania 28 featured the end of an era match inside Hell in a Cell with HBK as the special guest referee between The Undertaker and Triple H. So even though CM Punk had taken all the hearts of the fans and dominated WWE for the latter part of 2011 and early 2012, he took a backseat to 2 matches that featured 75% part-timers in The Rock, Triple H, and Undertaker. And That's why I felt as though that when they kicked off this program between The Rock and CM Punk, sure, it was storyline, but in a way it was kind of real. And that's what brought us to the Raw 1000 anniversary in July of 2012. And at this point, you had CM Punk approaching a full calendar year as WWE champion, all of which he was a babyface. And like I said, he really had the hearts of fans. The fans adored CM Punk. I don't have to tell many of you guys that. Anyone who has any access to an old CM Punk clip from 2011 on knows how much he was beloved. But by the time July 2012 rolled around, you had The Rock come back and announce on Raw 1000 that at the Royal Rumble, 6 months from that day, he would face whoever was the WWE champion. And he did so by interrupting a promo between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. And in a very babyface type of way, CM Punk, just told him that he was looking at the guy who would still be WWE champion in 6 months, and that they would have a great match at the Royal Rumble. And The Rock and CM Punk were very, I guess you could say, liberal between one another, with a visual mutual respect showing. And The Rock wished CM Punk well in his match against John Cena later that night, because John Cena had won the Money in the Bank briefcase just a week before and had announced that he was cashing in that night to main event Raw 1000 and challenge CM Punk for the WWE Championship. So The Rock wishes CM Punk well in his match versus John Cena later that night, hits a heel Daniel Bryan with a rock bottom, and is on his way. And just on a side note, go back and watch that promo that The Rock cut on Daniel Bryan. I think he said he was like a breed between a goat and a hobbit or something, or he called him an Oompa Loompa, something like that. A crossbreed of a hobbit and an Oompa Loompa. Very, very funny. So this program goes away, and CM Punk goes into his match versus John Cena. And I, for one, didn't expect John Cena to win this championship match. After they had the promo between The Rock and CM Punk, I was pretty much expecting that we would have a Rock versus CM Punk match at the Royal Rumble in 6 months from then. But the way that they went about it was something I didn't expect. Because for the better part of a year, CM Punk had been being booked as a babyface, someone that the crowd adored. But as the match with John Cena spilled on, we kind of started to realize something and a direction they were going with CM Punk's character. And you may be asking, well, why? How does this relate to The Rock at all? He's fighting John Cena. Well, during this match, a heel Big Show, who had his problems leading up to this night with John Cena, interrupted the match and caused a disqualification and began a beatdown on John Cena when this happened.
Punk looking to retain the title here. Oh, and the goal sling, he got caught. He got caught. Cena, STF. He's got it. Will Punk tap. New champion. Will Punk tap. STF's in. He's got it. Oh, Big Show again. Big Show again, and the referee has no choice. Out of the call for the disqualification as Big Show unloads on Cena. Oh! Oh! Big Show assaulting Cena, who is closing in on the WWE title. And look at CM Punk. He's just standing there looking on while the Big Show decimates John Cena. Come on, Punk. Get him off of there. Oh, it's just months of emotion running out of Big Show, looking for revenge here tonight against John Cena. Punk! And the assault continues, and Punk's done nothing. Punk has turned his back on this. And here comes The Rock. Oh, my God! Somebody's got to do something. And Rock goes right under Big Show. And the Bravo Bulls are running. It's electric in St. Louis. seeing here? No. CM Punk's not done. CM Punk with Rock on his shoulders. CM Punk, gonna go to sleep to the Rock.
So, as you heard, The Rock comes out to make the save to John Cena, who was being decimated by the Big Show, who interrupted the match, cost John Cena the WWE Championship. And then while he's beating down John Cena, CM Punk watches on and does nothing. And again, to this point, CM Punk is still a babyface, so you're still wondering, well, is he going to do something? Rock comes out, makes the save, hits the spine buster on the Big Show, and then as he's about to hit the people's elbow, CM Punk intercepts him with a clothesline, nails him with the go to sleep, and then completes the heel turn as he attacks The Rock, one of the most over characters in the history of the WWE. Looking back on this, there is pretty much only one reason as to why I believe they turned a guy like CM Punk, who was so over and so beloved by the fans, heel at this moment. And that was to protect themselves from them possibly booing The Rock. And I think that was a real possibility, and one of which WWE had no interest of risking. You know, they had already accepted, very accepted by 2012, that John Cena, one of the biggest stars ever to lace up the boots, would always be booed by the WWE Universe. But The Rock was not a returning guy, a Hollywood megastar that I think they wanted to risk being booed, especially when he was booked as a babyface. And I know that you go into a lot of matches that are booked babyface versus babyface, where you kind of let the crowd decide. You know, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock versus John Cena. We've seen it numerous times, you know, when two babyfaces are involved in a world championship match and a main event scene, that WWE kind of just lets the crowd decide who they want to get behind. But I think that in 2012, when social media was really starting to take control and take over the WWE landscape, they didn't want to risk a possible outcome where a guy like The Rock gets booed out of the building against a guy like CM Punk. And to be honest, if I look at it objectively, I think that may have happened. And, you know, I'm a huge Rock fan, massive Rock fan. He's by far my favorite wrestler of all time. So I'm in the minority here. But I would have cheered for The Rock. But I could also understand that a lot of people were behind CM Punk at this time. And to be fair, so was I. I like CM Punk. I found it kind of peculiar that they were going down this road, but when they turned CM Punk heel at Raw 1000, 6 months out from their eventual match at the Royal Rumble, I understood why they did it. So following the heel turn, The Rock went away, and we didn't really see him up until around December of 2012. You had CM Punk really go full-blown heel. He defended the WWE Championship successfully at SummerSlam in a triple threat match between the Big Show and John Cena. Him and John Cena had a program that kind of spilled all the way until Survivor Series in some capacity. He aligned himself with Paul Heyman, and then actually at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, he defended the championship against Ryback, who was getting a mega push at this time. And it's kind of funny to think back now on how pushed Ryback was because of his, you know, very well-known public hatred for Vince McMahon and WWE. But in mid to late 2012, WWE put the rocket strap to Ryback and were pushing him as a main event guy. And the reason that Ryback got that push in the first place was because of an injury to John Cena. And because of WWE's lack of top-end talent at that time, they just shot Ryback into the WWE Championship match against CM Punk at Hell in a Cell. And I guess it's not fair to say that he only got the push because of the injury, but he got a look at the WWE Championship so quick. And I think that's what kind of hurt Ryback here. Because the fan base, if I recall correctly, were getting behind Ryback very organically before this. And it's when they thrusted him into the championship picture right away against CM Punk is when, you kind of sensed a vibe from the crowd that was like, well, wait a minute. We don't want him to beat CM Punk already, because even though CM Punk was being booked as a heel, a very good heel, I may add, he was beloved by the fans still. Like that never changed and still reigns true to this day, even though he hasn't been in WWE in close to 7 years. So I think this is when the Ryback character really started to take a hit. Nonetheless, CM Punk retains that off of a low blow to Ryback from the referee Brad Maddox. This eventually leads to a triple threat match at Survivor Series between John Cena, John Cena, Ryback, and CM Punk for the WWE Championship. That results in the debut of the Shield, which helps CM Punk retain the championship as they interfered, put Ryback through a table, and CM Punk was able to capitalize on John Cena because of the interference. So these are now two pay-per-views in a row where CM Punk is slithering away with the championship with Paul Heyman at his side in full heelish mode and getting wins that are anything but clean. And this is when it pretty much lines up for The Rock to return to face CM Punk and seek retribution on him for the assault that he put on him at Raw 1000 and take back the WWE Championship. And this was a big deal because The Rock had not held the WWE Championship since the SummerSlam of 2002 when he dropped it to Brock Lesnar, when Brock Lesnar became the youngest world champion of all time. So this was really an intriguing program which lasted pretty much till February of 2013, mainly because of the promos between the two. And there's not many people who could best The Rock in a promo, but CM Punk certainly did so. And it was pretty funny to hear, and this is coming from a Rock fan, it was pretty funny and almost, captivating to watch The Rock get schooled by CM Punk in a promo. And here, I'm going to give you guys a little example an example of a promo in which The Rock was pretty much left speechless to what CM Punk had to say.
The Rock can look you in the eye and tell you this with all passion and with all heart. When The Rock is here, don't you ever say the people don't matter. They matter. They've always mattered. You're the one that doesn't matter.
Oh, I matter. I'm the most successful.
It doesn't matter if you matter. The only thing that matters is that you understand, you get it straight in your head, that at Royal Rumble, there ain't no way. And The Rock means no way you're going to stop The Rock from becoming WWE Champion.
Unlike a lot of people, I'm glad you're back. I don't care what your schedule is. I don't care if you work here 16 days a year, 365 days a year. You could be Santa Claus and have his schedule. You could 1 day a year. I'll still kick your ass. I don't care how many movies you film every year. I know how hard that schedule probably is, but every time you come back, whenever you decide to grace us with your presence, I'm going to kick your ass. Because this isn't Candyland. I'm like nobody you've ever faced before. You can make fun of the color of my t-shirt, and you can talk about pie, and you can sing songs, and you can rhyme, and you can do your tired, lame-ass shtick. I just want you to know that come Royal Rumble, and you have about 3 weeks to realize this, I'm gonna kick your ass, because I'm the best in the world. I'm the best thing going today. I'm the best guy you've ever stepped foot in the ring with. And you need to understand, congratulations, Rock. You just graduated from the kiddie table, but you just bit off more than you can chew. You're playing Little League with your little insults and your rhymes and your millions and millions and your finallys, and I'm in the big leagues, and I'm swinging for the fence. You need to understand that your little jabs and your insults, it's all kiddie games. You can't leave a mark on the champ's face. Come Royal Rumble, understand, when you step in the ring, your arms are just too short to box with God.
You may think that The Rock is boxing with God, but The Rock knows for a fact you are going one-on-one with the Great One. Don't you think for one single solitary second that The Rock doesn't know how bad you are, how dangerous you are, how tough you are? The Rock knows that. 414 days, The Rock knows. The last time we were in the middle of this ring, you hit The Rock with a GTS and you knocked him out cold as a block of ice. The Rock didn't forget it. You hurt The Rock. You embarrassed The Rock. He said it before, he'll say it again. In 20 days, time's up. But here's the thing. This is what The Rock wants you to do from now until then. The Rock wants you to go home and think about the next 20 days. As a matter of fact, The Rock wants you to go home and look in the mirror. As a matter of fact, The Rock wants you to go home, look in the mirror, and strip naked. That's what The Rock wants you to do. Go ahead and look at yourself. Don't concentrate on your cookie puss. Turn around and look at your backside. Turn around, look at your backside, and let's try and find a small space on this body that's not covered in ugly tattoos, because The Rock wants you to get 2 more tattoos, some more tattoos. Here's the thing. Go ahead, on your left butt cheek, The Rock wants you to get a tattoo of a big fat M&M. And then add a Snickers, a Milky Way, a Mounds. You can't have an Almond Joy, because unlike you, Almond Joys actually have nuts. And then on your right butt cheek, this is what The Rock wants you to do. The Rock wants you to get the tattoo of The Rock size 15 shoe. So you will have a lifetime reminder of how badly The Rock is going to kick your candy ass at Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah, rock bottom! Rock bottom! Amen! A rock bottom!
So, as you heard, The Rock ends that whole tangent, if you will, with a rock bottom and leaves CM Punk lying in the middle of the ring. And I know that I said that The Rock was kind of left speechless by what CM Punk had to say, and for all intents and purposes, he had everything to say after that, and he actually ended the program with saying all his thoughts. But when you think of the substance of what The Rock said, he kind of was speechless, because this was kind of just another version of The Rock's greatest hits, of making kind of, kiddie-ish insults, strip naked, get a tattoo on your left butt cheek, blah, blah, blah. And look, I find it hilarious. I love The Rock. I've said it numerous times, my favorite character. But when you actually realize what they said to one another, and that's why I let that clip play on a bit longer than usual, when you listen to what each of them had to say, The Rock was just kind of spitting nonsense, and CM Punk was spitting truth. He was the best in the world at that time. He had been the best in the world for about 1.5 years by this time. He was telling The Rock truths, and that's what I felt was so cool about this angle, is because, yeah, it was booked, yeah, it was part of a storyline and all that, but it really was kind of parallel what was going on in real life. That CM Punk was the workhorse of WWE, someone that the fans organically loved and were behind and was there every single week. And then you had The Rock just come in as a part-time guy, a full-time part-timer, as I previously said, and was just coming in to just, do his greatest hits and become an 8-time WWE champion and whatnot. And I guess we kind of found out over the course of time that CM Punk did have a true disdain for how WWE utilized the part-time competitors. But you saw it coming through in the storyline and the program as well, which I found really cool. And look, I'm so happy The Rock came back, and I was still cheering for him against CM Punk. But even as a big Rock fan, I was starting to feel a need to get behind CM Punk in a lot of respects. So they go into the Royal Rumble, and leading into the Royal Rumble, Vince McMahon said that the Shield could not be involved in any way, or CM Punk would relinquish the WWE Championship, in a rare instance of Mr. McMahon playing kind of a babyface. And as I previously mentioned, the Shield had helped CM Punk retain the championship in recent months. And there was kind of like this lingering rumor that Paul Heyman had employed the Shield to protect CM Punk, something that we later realized to be fact in a later program between McMahon and Paul Heyman, which became Lesnar versus Triple H, blah, blah, blah. So we go in with the promise of Vince McMahon that there will be no interference from the Shield on behalf of CM Punk, and it would be a strict one-on-one match. But as the match is going on and The Rock starts gaining traction, we see something that, at least on the surface, appears to be some form of interference.
Look at the people! Look at the people! That's because it's the people's elbow! What the? What the? Who the hell? Wait a minute! Somebody's destroying our announce table! Who the hell is that? They're attacking Rock! Holy cow! King, look at who that is! King! Oh my God, it's the Shield! No! The Shield! The Shield! That was the Shield! And they just triple powerbomb Rock to the table! Ladies and gentlemen, King, that was the Shield! We don't see it! Referee doesn't see it! Ref, he has no idea the Shield did that! He has no idea! It was the Shield! Shut up, you stooge! I think it did something to the referee, too! I think the Shield did something to the referee! Kiota has no idea what happened! Kiota! It was the Shield! The Shield attacked him! Stay out of it, Michael! Stay out of it! The Rock's all right! Rock was just triple bombed through a table! And look at CM Punk! CM Punk feigning that he didn't see a damn thing! This is highway robbery! Ref, we were 3 feet away from the Shield as they attacked. Shut up, you stooge! 3 feet away from Reigns and Ambrose and Rollins as they triple powerbomb Rock to this table. It doesn't matter, Michael. Oh, come on, Michael, you didn't see it. It was the Shield. The Shield was out here punking. Put the guy to the table. Who? The Shield. That's who. It had nothing to do with the Shield. Oh, please. Champion. So you're saying it's not cheating if you don't get caught? That is it. You're one to talk, King. This is absolutely stupid. Okay? The greatest manager in the history of sports entertainment, Paul Heyman, is standing there with the best in the world, CM Punk. Are you serious right now? Yes, I'm serious. How can you call this man the best in the world? Because he's going to be champion 435 days starting tomorrow. He survived again because of the damn Shield. He did. He has beaten everyone that has been put in front of him. I saw the same thing you saw. Technically, we couldn't see the Shield involved, right? So that means we're all stupid. It wasn't the Shield. CM Punk, it is my duty as chairman of the board. Oh boy, yeah. Shut up, cheerleader. Oh boy. To officially. No. We ain't ending this night like that. You don't take it from him. I am. Restart the match now.
So, another one of a longer clip, I know, guys, but I think there's just a lot of substance in these clips, and it's very important to listen to the whole thing. The Rock was about to hit a people's elbow. The lights go out, and when the lights come back on, The Rock is lying through a broken announce table. And putting two and two together, you knew it was the Shield. And CM Punk was able to roll The Rock back in the ring, get the championship victory, and retain the title. But as Vince McMahon said, knowing that we're not all stupid, it was clearly the Shield. And just as he's about to award the championship to The Rock says, restart the match. So now we get a restarted match and another chance for The Rock to win the championship.
should be after the decision was overturned. Rock bad-mouthing Rock. Top rope. Patented elbow. Connected. And Rock should have just stayed outside the ring. It's elementary at this point. Good night. Rock kicked out. Oh! It ain't over till it's off the kick out by Rock. Looking to make an emphatic statement here. CM Punk hits this, it's over. Punk could have been stripped of the championship tonight. But instead, Rock wanted to win the matchup his way. That sinister grin on the face of Punk. Signaling to the world, it's time for the Rock to go to sleep. Good night, Rock. With Rock up on his shoulders. See you in Hollywood. GTS. Rock struggling through. Rock gets out of it. Rock now. Spinebuster to Punk. Oh my! Oh my gosh! This is vintage Rock. Here it comes. Another people down. Yes! What do you gotta do to beat this guy? Cover! Over the line! The Rock has done it! The Rock has done it! The 10-year wait is over! Unbelievable! The Rock is again the People's Champion!
So, upon the match being restarted, The Rock kicks out of a diving elbow from CM Punk, counters the GTS, hits the People's Elbow, and captures the WWE Championship for the first time in 10 years for the 8th time. He would go on to successfully defend the championship at the following pay-per-view at the Elimination Chamber against CM Punk yet again, hence closing their rivalry with The Rock coming out on top, ending the 400-plus day run for CM Punk as the WWE Champion. And look, I'm a Rock fan, and I love that he came back and won the title, but the fact that he went into WrestleMania 29 as WWE Champion was a mistake. It was. It wasn't a mistake for The Rock to beat CM Punk and win the championship. I didn't mind that. I think it was kind of cool that they put the strap back on The Rock for one last time in what proved to be his final run with the company on like a full-time, part-time basis, as I like to call it. But I didn't think it was good that he went into WrestleMania as champion, because I really think that CM Punk deserved that honor. I think he had done enough to go into into WrestleMania as WWE Champion. And they instead decided to have CM Punk go against The Undertaker, which was a fine match, and have The Rock defend the championship against John Cena in the second installment of their iconic rivalry. And while I understood why they made the decision for John Cena to beat The Rock, capture the championship, and kind of cement himself as the best ever, I don't think that needed to be done, especially given the fact that The Rock versus John Cena the first time around was billed as once in a lifetime. And I think that the company would have stood to have a better payoff of John Cena versus CM Punk, which was a rivalry that was dating back almost a year and a half at this point, and the groundwork was already laid at the feet of WWE to book this. I didn't think that many benefited in the long term from John Cena beating The Rock. And I would have had CM Punk win back the championship in another heelish type way from The Rock at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, and had CM Punk defend the championship against Cena. And I still think that The Rock should have faced Triple H at a WrestleMania, whether it be in 2013 or at a later one. That's where I would have gone. I think that is a rivalry that should have been reborn, and then they kind of hinted at it a few times, but I think The Rock's work schedule just got in the way. But either way you shake it, I just didn't think that they did right by CM Punk in this rivalry. And again, I do think that it was a good call for The Rock to beat him in the first place and at least get a short run with the title. but it just wasn't right to have him go in to WrestleMania as champion and then make CM Punk take a backseat for the foreseeable future after that, up until leaving the company just a full calendar year later in 2014. And I think this rivalry was important because the program and the booking of it kind of paralleled the real life of what led to CM Punk's departure. And it was just too bad that they had to end such a historic run by CM Punk by making him lose it to The Rock and then never really get it back. And that's the part that kind of bothered me about this from the perspective of CM Punk, because I do think in some way it was good that The Rock beat him and was the one to end that run, because it was kind of like, you know, he was so unbeatable and so unstoppable, but that only a legend like The Rock could take the belt off of him. But that doesn't change the fact that he should have got the championship back in the near future, and he deserved to go into WrestleMania in a bigger program than against The Undertaker. And I know that The Undertaker, anytime you fight him, it's a big match, but as CM Punk has said in an interview where he was shooting on the whole situation in WWE, there's only one main event for WrestleMania. I know WWE likes to book that there's three, or likes to tell everyone that there's three main events, but in reality, there's one main event. And the fact of the matter is that he never got one true main event at a WrestleMania, despite his historic run as WWE champion. And a lot of that had to do with The Rock's return in 2012, 2013, overshadowing his historic run as the world champion in WWE. And that's why I felt that this rivalry was very important to recap, because of how much the program paralleled the real life events that were going on between The Rock and CM Punk during this time. Anyway, guys, that's about all I got for you today. As always, you can get me on Twitter at @ADemarco25. You can email Matt at RealWWEPodcast. I hope you enjoyed this rivalry between The Rock and CM Punk. Again, come at me with any suggestions that you may have, and I will talk to you soon next week.